Hello guys, welcome to Global Happenings. Today we have a trending news here for you, and the headline of the news reads: Senatororjikalu finally grounded as EFCC seals Slok, son and other properties. See details. But before we continue with details of this news and further analysis, we'd like to encourage you to please subscribe to the channel by clicking on the red subscribe button and also on the bell icon so that you can get notification anytime we publish videos on YouTube. All right, let's listen to the news. The Economic and Financial Crime Commission on Saturday began what looked like the takeover of the Sun Publishing Limited, the publisher of the Sun newspaper, one of the newspaper houses allegedly owned by a former governor of Abia State who is currently in prison, Senatororjikalu. The decision by the agency is not unconnected to the recent decision of the Federal High Court to sentence the serving senator to a 12-year jail term after being found guilty of corruption charges. The anti-corruption body said the effort is to ensure that the property which the court directed should be forfeited to the federal government is carried out. Kalu, at the time of the court judgment, which started 12 years ago, was the chief whip of the nation's upper legislative chamber of the National Assembly, that's the Senate. But the management of the newspaper house expressed shock by the action of the EFCC, saying it does not understand the legal basis of the action, which saw the office building marked with EFCC keep off inscription. The statement issued by the newspaper house said 3 officials of the Economic and Financial Crime Commission with 4 armed policemen on Saturday, 15th of December 2019, arrived the corporate headquarters of the Sun Publishing Limited at 2 Koskari Street, Krikri Industrial Layout at Papa, Lagos, and put up a notice for staff and the general public to keep off the premises. The EFCC official, who came in a white Toyota bus with registration number Abuja BWR 644GR, wrote on the Sun's fence, EFCC, keep off. They also advised our staff to collect their personal belongings from the office as they will come back to seal the premises completely. The media house further added that we do not understand the legal basis for this EFCC action. It is on record that there is a pending appeal at the Supreme Court with suit number SC-546-2018, wherein the Sun Publishing Limited appealed against the judgment delivered by the Court of Appeal on the interim official order made against it by a federal high court in 2007 based on ex parte proceeding. The notice of appeal and motion for stay of execution were duly served on EFCC by the bailiff of the court. It is also pertinent to state that EFCC viewed a letter written by counsel to the Sun Publishing Limited dated 22nd May 2018 and duly received by one Kale Peter on behalf of Rotimi Jacobs and Co. was further put on notice of the pending appeal at the Supreme Court and advised to stay action in the matter pending the hearing of the motion for stay of execution and the appeal. However, the media house intimated the anti-graft agency that its ownership goes beyond the former governor, saying that the Sun Publishing Limited was not a party to the case of EFCC versus Orji and 2 others, so we do not see why the judgment in that case should lead to attempt to seal the Sun Publishing Limited premises. Furthermore, we are aware that both Senatororjikalu and Slok Nigeria Limited have since appealed the judgment delivered by Justice Muhammad Idris and a hearing date given. We wish to reiterate that the Sun Publishing Limited is an ongoing corporate limited liability company and its shares are owned by various individuals distinct from Senatororjikalu. Therefore, the recent judgment against Senatororjikalu should not be used to disturb the operation of the company and the proprietary rights of its innocent shareholder until the matters are dispensed at the Supreme Court. In the meantime, the newspaper outfit called an appeal to the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice to urgently intervene and advise EFCC appropriately on the legal consequences of its action. All right, that's the news, and this is quite a serious one for Sun newspaper, and I think that this issue can be handled well, considering the fact that in a limited liability company, one person does not have the sole right over a particular or over the company, though it's also based on the number of shares that each of them have. Despite all of that, if the person who is in trouble have less than 51% of the shares, whatever issue he has shouldn't affect the company. I don't know if he's the chairman of the company, because the chairman of the company should have at least 51% of the share, and if he does have, therefore means to some extent he's the owner, but the other people have at least a right over their shares. So coming in to seal it and all of that does not align very well with the provision of the Corporate Affairs Commission in respect to limited liability company. But be that as it may, we're looking at the case of forfeiture of the properties of this guy, properties of Orji. According to the information, they have appealed. That's his lawyer has appealed to the Supreme Court or to the appeal court about the judgment, that they are not comfortable with the judgment, which means the case is already pending. And if they have appealed and that letter has been served to EFCC, I don't think that EFCC have the right by law to still go there and interrupt their services or their operation of the Sun Limited Liability Company. That's the Sun newspaper. They don't have that right to go there because it has been appealed. In other words, we are not suitable with what you have, the judgment. Though our client is still in the cell, but we are not still suitable. So let's give them some time. After the hearing date and other things are being done, from there they can now take. After all, Sun newspaper is not going to evaporate into the soonest. They'll still be there, and that property, I believe that it is owned by Sun Publishing Limited. They are the owners of it, so they can't exhume into the air. They'll still be around for you to confiscate it as the case, or forfeit it as the case may be. But at the same, another thing I want to talk about is the issue of forfeiting the property for the federal government. Why should you forfeit it for federal? Did he eat the federal government money? He did not eat federal government money. It was the allocation of Abia State that the man was, looting. It was their own allocation. So the forfeiture of the building, whatever property or maybe financial instrument that he has, should be sold and sent back to these guys. To sold and sent back, or it should be forfeited and given to Abia State. Whatever thing they want to do with it, they go ahead and do with it. It's not the property of the federal government. So this issue of saying we are forfeiting it and giving it to the federal government is one thing that nobody really understands what it means. But this is quite a terrible situation for other looters, a terrible lesson for other looters to learn, that your own time will come whereby whatever thing that you have stolen, you will vomit every one of them. Though also Nigerians are still also calling on EFCC to be accountable for everything that they have forfeited thus far. My colleague is here, she has something to say.
But for me, you're very correct in this line. All those monies, if eventually it has been settled, it should return back to the coffers of Abia State. That's where it was coming from. That's where it should go to. Each time I keep hearing EFCC have recovered this, they have gotten. The other time I heard that they have gotten between some politicians, they've gotten about 100 billion naira. I was surprised. It's really this big, this huge, and we're still borrowing from China, borrowing from World Bank. Really, this is really good. How come we're not seeing it in our economy? I think it's about time, it's high time that we started investigating EFCC as well, as in they should be very much accountable, because you can't be telling us that you have recovered this. Is it that you recover looted money to be relooted? I don't get it really. So accountability and transparency should be in play here. I also totally agree with the fact that if this has been reappealed, then EFCC should put their activities on hold until the final judgment comes out, because if eventually when the final judgment comes out, that means the Sun newspaper, their staff is coming into the already overpopulated unemployment market again. So sometimes when we look at the goose, we also look at the gander. The effect of this is quite huge. When we do what we do, we should also remember that there should be a solution plan, in place, where you're going to put all these people once they leave and lose their jobs. They're going back to the unemployment market. And there's another thing that got me worried. Ever since Orji Kalu has been convicted, I expected that Senate seat should be vacant. But as we speak, he's still collecting his monies. He's collecting his project money. I'm wondering, is he doing the project, community project from the prison? I'm not understanding it really. I would have expected that seat should be vacant, even if there's no, but even if the second person, as in the second, during the elections, the other person who lost, the closest to the winner apart from Orji Kalu, can't take it. Leave it vacant until finally his appeal is being done. But paying him for doing nothing, I feel it's so unfair for taxpayers, really. Nigerians pay money, they pay tax. It's not fair for you to be paying somebody who's actually been convicted, even though he's still appealing it. He's not coming for anything, really. It's not fair for taxpayers to be paying all this. Well, kudos to EFCC, but I feel that more accountability from EFCC should be in place, so we know what per time and what those monies have been used to this moment.
All right, thank you very much. Just like my colleague has said, sacking those guys or closing the office is not just it. Sun newspaper has been there for as long as now. I think that I'm suggesting this time around, that the EFCC should form what we call an interim management committee that will be in charge of all the operation of Sun newspaper corporation, so that at least people won't lose their job. Job is very difficult now to get, so trying to close the whole thing and tell everybody to go doesn't make any sense. At least for the now, since the case is still pending in court, it should be a case of sacking the current management and then bringing in an interim management committee to look into it, and then
those monies made
taken to Abia State.
The profits made Abia State cover straight.
All right, that's just it. But don't forget to go to our comment section. Let us interact. What do you think about the seizure or forfeiture of the assets of Orji Kalu? Do you think that it should also be done to his own account? Some of those monies are still there. Do you think they should also forfeit his account and sweep up all